ladies and gentlemen. Munciana Courtside, Show 4, Season 6. Straight back from Canada, ready to go. That's the delay this week. We were in Canada for the last 4 or 5 days. Teaching the Canucks some U.S. volleyball. Great experience, great people. But we're happy to be home in the Hoosier State. Hit us, Rando.
All right, last week highlights. We talked about Blues Day was round. A lot of matches. I'll roll through them. You can highlight whoever you'd like to. It's up to you. Carroll swept Lures in the Fort Wayne area.
Fort Wayne is up for grabs, baby.
It is.
Probably the greatest parity in the state in that city. That's nice.
In the Elkhart area, Elkhart Memorial takes down Warsaw in 5. Yorktown sweeps Wapahani.
That's Yorktown is sponsored by Hoover. They are the sweeper nation now. That Wapahani young, really young. Yorktown, really good.
Yep.
You know, no knuckles, no myrrh, no problem. They just keep it rolling. That's a machine.
Yep. Center Grove beats Carmel in 4.
I was there. I did the TV for that match. Center Grove without MJ Hamill still gets by a really scrappy Carmel team. A Carmel team that, you know, is still trying to figure it out. I think that Coach Dean will figure it out, but you know where to put people. She messed around with the lineup several times during that match. That match was much closer than the 3-1 score indicated. Got some kids that can play. You know, McCarty kid can go. Got 2 kids on the right side that can bring it. Center Grove is very good, very solid in the middle of the court. Brown and Burgess are good. Eichenoff is good. Eck is a setter. Eck was setting for him as opposed to being the bro because Hamill being out. This Eck kid is just a warrior.
Yeah.
Chris Dew's team is going to be tough. I think this injury to Hamill is going to make them better because they're going to be even deeper than before. I was really impressed with both Center Grove and Carmel, but Center Grove the better team for right now.
Yep. A little surprise up north. Heritage, Maggie Castleman's team takes down Belmont in 5.
That's a good win for Castleman and the gang.
Yep. Then Providence beats New Albany in 4. Looked like it was pretty good sets the last couple.
Yep. And then, you know, Mount Vernon over Brownsburg. We're going to talk a little about Mount Vernon. They had a couple real wins. We thought it'd be a week where they'd get tested, and they did get tested, but they're good.
Yep. Wednesday night, Westfield took down Perry Meridian in a sweep. So.
Yeah. Well, Perry Meridian, you know, no Katie Baird. That's an awful big loss. And Westfield's, like I said, Westfield's a team that's a year away.
Yep. And then you got LaPorte takes down Michigan City, gives us a little shot up north in 3.
No, always a good. LaPorte's always solid, and that's a good win.
And then also on Thursday night, you had Brownsburg taking down Franklin Central in 5, and then HSE sweeps Avon.
HSE's HSE's really good team. Brownsburg, Avon. Abby Mesh is a real deal. That kid can flat out play, but Avon's still trying to figure some things out. They'll get where they got to go in time.
Yep. And then we always talk about the Avon invite. Seemed like a really good tournament. Assumption wins, kind of in the championship, since it was 7 teams against Newcastle. Beat them in 2.
Tight first game. Kind of spanked them a little in the second game. Assumption, probably a little too much firepower. And I'll tell you, they always have a couple kids. You know, DeBeer and Rader can dominate the front row, but where they're really good is they never lose the back 20.
Yep.
And so I'm sure that their surface pressure and ball handling wore down a solid Newcastle team. And you know, from what everybody is saying, Newcastle had a little break in serve receive, and when that happens, you know, Mabry Schaffmaster's as good as anybody in the state, but she still needs a little bit of area to swing into, a little seam, a little line, and when you can't get the middles involved because of the ball handling possibly, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Schaffmaster to put on a cape and try to do things that probably can't be asked of a young lady yet. Assumption just a little bit better than those guys.
Yep. All right, Lazy Boy Games of the Week. Talk about Monday night. I think this will be a good one up in the Fort Wayne area. We'll see exactly where Concordia is, since Angola's played a couple of those guys up north. Angola heads to Concordia.
Well, Concordia has been the queen of the court up there.
Correct.
You know Trish has probably had more success than anybody in the Fort Wayne area over the last 10 years. And she's turned out some great players and great programs, won a state championship in the middle of that. Angola is the upstart. They are a very senior-laden team. Lowy ball, no bio necessary. Lowy's Lowy, and But Lowry's built a really nice little program up there quietly, and this Angola team I think, is the real deal. You know, if they can stay consistent, whoever gets consistent late and stays consistent in Fort Wayne's going to win.
Yep.
And that, like I said, that area of the state is going to be my favorite area of the state to watch come tournament time.
No doubt. Tuesday night, we'll leave that last one for the last. Hagerstown will head to Wapahani. Both one-loss teams.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Hagerstown, Reagan Tinkle, Coach Brian Dale has done a wonderful job really raising that program to an elite status. Wapahani has obviously been an elite status. I mean, Wapahani, you could argue, other than a couple of programs in the state, in the 2000s have won 4 state championships.
Yep.
I mean, they're as successful as anybody in the state.
Correct.
Historically, a lot of young kids right now. That should be a good battle, and that'll be a good test for a young Wapahani team, and really for a Hagerstown team that was in the hunt last year for a state run and is trying to regain their chase.
Yep. Another game to watch for will be Brebeuf and Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is still undefeated, I think, at this point.
Well, Brebeuf is as well coached as anybody. Cat Haas is killing it, and young program at Brebeuf. Started 3 freshmen a couple weeks ago, and Mount Vernon, Eric Beaumont's group, he's been working at this for a while, and I think this flower has finally bloomed, and this Mount Vernon team is the real deal. That should be a war.
Yep.
And it goes once again a long ways as to telling us how good Mount Vernon's going to be. I thought last week Mount Vernon beating Brownsburg said a lot about that team and where they're going. This will have a little bit of say too, because this Brebeuf team is playing very inspired, very hard.
Yep. Then you got Bar Reeve and Springs Valley. Should be a really good game. Bar Reeve now up into 2A, but usually is a top level 1A game.
Those are 2 great teams from down in that part of the state. Springs Valley is as good as anybody, and we'll get a chance to see a little bit about Springs Valley this weekend in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Bar Reeve's 13-0. All Bar Reeve does is win.
Yep.
And that'll be a wonderful matchup.
Yep. And then the heavyweight fight for Tuesday night, we got Yorktown hitting the good old HSE.
Yorktown HSE is always an early season war. Creates some great social media battles between Scott Murray and Jason Young, some of my favorite moments. Yorktown, I said early on, they're the champs until they're beaten. In my mind, until someone beats them, until someone takes a set from them.
Correct.
They're back on that same run again. They're the champs until that happens. It should be a really good game. This is the best backcourt or best ball control unit HSE has ever had. Still running the offense that he had at the start of the season, but he feels like his squad is ready and that they're prepared to do wonderful things. He's calling for a shocker. And I know the Yorktown folks are calling for things just to stay as always. It should be an interesting match.
I would say the complete opposite. I don't think it's going to be a good match. Sorry, Big Jason. Yorktown, get out the brooms. Streak continues.
Call him for the sweep.
There you go. There's some bulletin board stuff for you, big fella. Thursday night.
Oh boy. The Yorktown HSE game would probably be a good night to get a ticket.
Yeah.
That's at HSE, folks, and no love lost here at the table tonight. So.
Thursday night, Yorktown
Yes.
back on. They'll play Mount Vernon, so that should be.
Oh yeah,
That will be 2 undefeated teams going at it.
You think Mount Vernon will get through Brebeuf? You're blowing up everybody right now. Mm-hmm. So Yorktown and Mount Vernon both undefeated. Yorktown's the better team there, but it'll be a great test for Beaumont's group. A litmus test to see just how much he's got to get done before October.
Yeah.
Yorktown's the better team there.
And then let's see, we got Carroll and Dwenger. That's another one to watch out for. Carroll's headed to Dwenger.
Yeah, and Carroll's hot right now. Carroll coming off a weekend where they beat up Lures. That'll be a good matchup. I like that Dwenger team an awful lot. Very talented.
One of our past 10, 15 years here, Wapahani heading to Muncie Burst.
It's a lot different than it used to be. Really different. It used to be Wapahani Burris was a showdown between Jim Craig and Steve Shondell. Now Jim Craig and Steve Shondell are both coaching at Burris.
It's a little weird.
It is weird, but that's youth versus experience again. Mara Perry anchors a pretty experienced Burris squad against Chloe Cook and the freshman fighters of Wapahani. That should be a really interesting game. Always a lot of passion in that game in Delaware County.
Yep. Another game I'm kind of intrigued by is Heritage. Just talked about Maggie Castman and the crew. They're heading to Leo, so I mean, if they could pull off another one, maybe Heritage is the team out of the North.
Well, you got Castleman, who's a tremendous little athlete, playing against Brooke Smith, the Louisville commit. That should be a great battle. And
Yep.
once again, the Summit City has a marquee matchup.
Yep. But Thursday night, the heavyweight fight, Mudsock, 2019.
The Mud Sock.
We got HSC heading
Yeah.
to Fishers.
I'm still not exactly sure why it's called the Mud Sock, but HSE at Fishers. You know, this is one of those ones where records don't matter, and the reason I say that is Fishers is really up and down. They're really struggling, and they're trying to figure it out. They will figure it out. Too much talent there to not figure it out. It's just a matter of when. And if they figure it out on Thursday, this could be a war. If they don't figure it out on Thursday, you know, HSE probably a little too deep for them right now.
Yep.
If they can't get the ship righted. I'll be honest, this game comes down to service pressure and first ball contacts, ball control. Whichever team passes the ball is going to win. If Fishers passes the ball, you know, Jada Allen, Cam Hayworth, Brennan Robertson, those guys are too good. They're too good offensively to neglect. And I think if Fishers takes care of the ball, they could be dangerous. They could be in this match. HSE. Right now, if I had to call anything right now, HSE is the better team today. And, you know, it's not Thursday, obviously, but I think HSE has probably got a little bit of an edge there.
I'd agree with you. You know, at the start of the year, I was saying Fishers was going to win that sectional. I thought they'd be the guy out of the North. Now, I'm a little more on the fence. I think HSE is probably the better team at this point. So that would be my nod. You don't have any bulletin board.
I was just waiting to see if you were going to call it a Fishers 3-0 sweep and just shut down all of HSE.
I can't do that.
All right.
I'm going to be right on one of them.
All right. Well, you didn't actually say one there. You just said you were.
HSC, I think, is the better team. I think that would be who would win.
I think it's going to be a better match than what
Correct.
people think.
Correct.
All right.
I really had a good feel for Fishers.
So.
July,
All
not
right.
now.
All right. All right.
Mermaid pools. We've just been talking about Scott Murray and the crew. Top players to watch. Got a few here.
Yeah, Ellie Stinson would be one. Ellie Stinson's a kid that's off the radar a little bit. She's tiny. She's playing out of position. She's got to play the outside, the L1 slot for Yorktown. She's going to end up being the libero at Northwestern in the Big Ten before
Yep.
it's all said and done. She's only a sophomore. But, you know, she's that energy. She is that kid that's just going to keep you moving at all times. She's I don't know. She's action personified. I love watching the kid play. I love the zest that she plays it with, and she's a good role model for all those young ladies that are worried about their size. Size doesn't matter. You know, it's not. You don't measure people in height. You measure people in the size of their heart. And Stinson's the biggest player in the state, if that's the case.
One of my favorites. I would say she is a heck of a leader, and that team has just taken off. It really hasn't skipped a beat since the other guys left.
Mm-hmm.
The second one.
Dangerous player. And this is one of the reasons that I kind of held on that Fishers game a little bit. She could be the X Factor. Is Jada Allen, a junior out of Fishers. And the kid can play. You know, he's been offered by several schools, taking a visit to Penn State in the next couple of weeks. I know all of the SEC, all the Power Fives are on her. Former Xavier commit. But this kid is the real deal. Has vacillated position-wise. I know that in the club season she moved to the pin. It was an outside hitter there. Had been always a middle, but when this kid gets comfortable and they kind of get their systems figured out at Fishers, she can be really a dangerous piece of it. You know, because of that late move from middle to outside, she's not really as efficient out of system yet.
Correct.
Just because of reps. She's going to be great, but just because of reps. And you combine that with the fact that Fishers has been out of system a lot this year because of ball control. That takes a little bit away from Jade Allen, but if they can ever get the ball control right, this kid has the capability of taking over any match in the state.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, number 3.
Brooke Smith, you know, you sent me a video and you came back from that Leo Dwinger match and were raving about the kid. Going to Louisville and I think that this kid, just from what I saw, is big, physical, and a dominant player.
Yep.
One of the best players, if not one of the most dominant hitters in the state of Indiana or in this part of the country. Bombs it at 500 kills, basically, 25 aces, 31 blocks, which is huge. She can impact the game all 900 square feet. This kid's a real deal, and once again, one of the reasons why that Summit City area is up for grabs. There's every team up there has a kid a lot
Yep.
like her.
They do.
Maybe not as physical though.
Yep.
She's awful gifted.
Yeah, she does a lot of great things in the front row, and you can see her working in the back row. They're starting to add a little bit of back row attack with her. She's really doing a much better job in the last 20 feet of the court.
She's a kid that's going to have to get back row
Correct.
opportunities, because for Leo to move to where they want to go statewide, she's going to have to impact the game all 6 rotations. She can't score only in the front 10. She's got to be equally dangerous in the back 20.
Yep.
And for those of you wondering what I'm talking about, 30 foot of court, the front 10 feet is the attack area. The back 20 is usually the back row. That's where she's got to be good. She's got to become really dominant from the service line and really dominant at hitting out of the back row.
Yep. All right, number 4.
Rose Christ really evolved late. She's one of those kids that you kept waiting for it to pop in and pop on. And Noblesville just recently committed to Villanova, but she's really a kid that if you look at her, you're going, man, when everything lines up, this kid could be dangerous. And 211 kills, 72 digs, 30 blocks. She's a kid that when everything lines up, is as good as anybody.
Yep.
And she's got a little bit more polishing to do, but Rose Christ is a dynamite player
Yep.
and worth going out to watch.
No doubt. Number 5.
Victoria Beaumont. We were talking about Eric Beaumont at Mount Vernon and how he's really developed a great program from the bottom up. I mean, he's paid his dues, but one of the things that's helped him pay his dues, much like Terry Perica at Providence, is there's been a Beaumont on that roster for a
Correct.
long time, and Victoria is as good as any. Senior, heading to Valpo to gang up with her sister there and put on a show in up north, but 882 assists, 300 digs, 158 kills. I watched her play in a club season. She's very athletic, very volleyball savvy. But our father played the game at a high level at Ball State. Father's been a lifetime coach, club-wise,
Yep.
and is really done a great job of teaching his daughter. Victoria Beaumont's my 5th player to watch this week.
All right, talking about GearMunciana.com rankings. Got a little less on the agenda this week. Last week, we had a few other people some love. We'll go ahead and hit on number 10.
It's weird, we pared down the list a little, but I'm still as confused as ever.
Yep.
I like 1 through 3.
Yep.
1 through 5, I think, is pretty sturdy. After that, it's wide open.
Yes.
Now, the MJ Hamill injury kind of makes Center Grove move around a little bit, but when she's back, if we were basing this on her being in there, obviously they would be locked and loaded.
Correct.
As well. But a little bit of movement and motion. There's teams out there that you got to give a little bit of love to. I mean, Burris is doing some insane things right now and winning games. Greenfield Central winning games. We moved some guys out that are very good. And keep that in mind. Crown Point, we dropped down a little bit. They're winning games. Carmel's good. I'm
Yep.
telling you, by the end of the season, they're going to be really, really good. They've lost games to all good teams, no bad losses. They're 11-6 with all good losses. So, this could change overnight.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm going to go at 10. I'm going to split it between Brebeuf and Bar Reeve.
Yeah.
Bar Reeve had an incredible week. They won about 7 matches. I mean, that's-
76-0 in the season.
yeah, 13-0. You can't ignore undefeated, and you can't ignore legacy. I mean, Bar Reeves is as good a program as this state has had over the last 10 years.
Yep.
And, you got to give them respect. They got a great match coming up with Spring Valley, so that should go a long ways to telling us if they stay in the top 10. Brebeuf, same thing. They get a big test this week, but they're 9-2. They're playing with
Big win last week, Heritage Christian.
yeah, it's a huge win. Heritage Christian's a team I believe is going to win the state championship still.
Mm-hmm.
But Brebeuf, new coach, and she's kind of revitalized a team that was kind of not sure where they stood after, Brian Murray had left the program and retired and moved on to greener pastures. In Brebeuf, a lot of people wondered. They had lost their star in Hap and lost their coach, and all they've done is kind of rebound with a great attitude. But if you know anything about the Treadway family, there's optimism, and then there's whatever's above optimism for them, and I'm sure it's a positive environment at Brebeuf. I have them at 10 with Bar Reef.
Yeah. All right, number 9, moving up.
Mount Vernon, they cracked the top 10, and
Big week this week.
It is a big week. They take down a Brownsburg team, which I thought was real. They beat Delta the second year in a row, but they got a really big week. I think
Yorktown, they got HSC, and then they got Brebeuf at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, it's a brutal week. If Beaumont skates through that week, they're probably the 5th best team in the state of Indiana at that point. If you can get through it, that's a big if. I mean, Yorktown hasn't lost a set since Nixon was in office. HSE, they're going to be, geared up all week long. HSE's got a great week with Yorktown, Fishers, and Mount Vernon.
Yep.
And so it's just going to be a brutal week. But if Mount Vernon can get through that, they're going to rise even further. But I got them at 9.
Yep. All right, number 8, he's on.
Lloyd Ball is in. He's in, and I've held off because Angola is not your normal participant in this thing. You never see Angola involved in these state polls. I just like them. Plus, they've beaten some people. I mean, they beat Dwenger. And Dwenger, I'm telling you, when I've watched,
And
Dwenger is good.
They got handled.
Yeah, they're good. Dwenger is good, and I'll tell you this, everybody always says just because you can play it doesn't mean you can coach it. That is true. There's a lot of guys that were high-level players that were not great coaches. Lloyd Ball is a great coach.
Yep.
Lloyd Ball is a great coach, great person, great friend, and he's got a great team. At number 8, Angola.
Yep. All right, number 7.
Dwenger, I just too much talent to not be up there. The other one that could argue is Leo. Those guys are interchangeable. Dwenger had been beaten by Angola early in the season, so
They're starting to put a streak together. They were 2-3 or 3-3 to start the year, and now I think they're up to about 8.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. People are going to look at me and say, "Well, how can Dwenger be on there and not Leo? How can Dwenger be above Angola?" A lot of what I'm looking at with Dwenger is where they could be and should be. I think that team and Hauser will get them there.
Yep.
And Tim does a nice job, and I think they're going to keep moving. But I like that Dwenger team.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep them at 7.
Like number 6.
Center Grove. I watched them play Carmel with. People look at it and say, "Well, MJ Hamill's out. That's all they're missing." No. MJ Hamill steps off the court. Now we need a setter. We take Eck, who's the libero, move her to setter. Now we've got a void at libero. We fill the libero spot, and they filled it admirably. Center Grove is growing their depth as we watch. They're big and physical in the middle. They don't connect as well, obviously, with Eck in the middle as they did MJ Hamill. But I'm telling you, Eck is a warrior.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go back and watch her play pro when MJ gets back, because this kid is just a volleyball player.
Yep.
And they've got the pieces necessary to win. I like this team. They dropped down a little. They lost to Mercy and Roncalli. But I told you they would fluctuate throughout the season because of what's going on with MJ.
Yep.
But they're number 6.
No doubt. Number 5, still undefeated.
They're good. McCutcheon is. We called out McCutcheon last year and caught some grief for it. We had McCutcheon in the top 10 in the state last year early on. And I thought that they were going to be a team to reckon with because they're so athletic and so well coached that I thought that they would have cracked it. They struggled at times last year. They're not struggling at all.
Yeah.
They're 11-0, and they're beating people convincingly. Had a tough match with Burris, but this team is the real deal. 11-0, McCutcheon moves to 5 in my book.
Yep. All right, number 4.
HSE. HSE lost to Providence, was their only loss, and there's no shame in losing to Providence in a match. It was a pretty good match.
That was the past weekend. We just were a little
bit behind. We're behind it, but that's their only other loss. They've lost to Newcastle and Providence, 2 teams you're going to hear in the next couple of seconds from me. HSE's got a very, very, very tough match, a match that'll go a long ways to determining just where they're at and where they've got to go. That's the thing right now. These matches, while they're important for bragging rights and they're important for pride, don't mean anything. The coaches that get it are using these matches, win or lose, as barometers as to where they've got to go and as indicators as to what they have to look at. You know, talking to Sarah Roush today with Newcastle, really wanting to watch the Assumption game just to see what she has to do to get better. You know, the loss, it's over. It's over. And that loss means nothing for a state championship. It has a little bit of bearing on national championships, but you know, who cares? This is about learning. HSE is going to learn an awful lot about themselves. As you heard here first, breaking news, Randy Gardner called the 3-0 sweep by Yorktown. That's just one of the matches HSE has this week. They're going to play against Yorktown, who's probably the best team in the state right now. They're going to play against Mount Vernon, who's in our top 10, and they're going to play against Fishers, who is the number 3 ranked team preseason on this poll.
Correct.
That's HSE's week, and if they can get through it, much like I was talking about Mount Vernon, if HSE skates through that week, HSE moves up, and hopes rise fast. It should be interesting. Number 4, HSE.
Yep. All right, number 3.
Providence. You know, it's much like McCutcheon. All they're doing is
Won the
winning.
tournament. Actually, what was quite crazy, I saw this and I was going to tell you about it. It's they won it for the 6th straight year. But here's before that. Before that, they'd only won it one time.
Yeah.
Since Coach was on the team in 1989.
Wow.
I saw that. That was kind of crazy, I thought.
That is.
6 straight years of kicking it. And what was kind of cool about their pools, I mean, I think they played Fishers in their first pool, and they really didn't stray away from making it a great competition in both their pools.
They don't. Terra does not dodge competition.
Yep.
You know, like I said, you'll hear her name every week that we do this show because I'm a big fan. But Providence, all they're doing is winning. In Providence, it's really neat because all year long it's been Newcastle, Yorktown, Yorktown, Newcastle, Newcastle, Yorktown. Providence is just sitting back. And this is when Parika is dangerous, is when she can hide until the end and jump out after you. You know, no one's giving them their due. No one's really singing their praises. This team will be in the hunt. I'm telling you right now, the 2 teams that I'd really like to keep a big eye on late are going to be Center Grove and Providence. Those 2 teams have all of the pieces. If they can put them together, this thing could explode. But Providence is my number 3, and all they did was win 6 or 7 matches. So 13-0 speaks for itself.
And like you talked about, which is going to be a really fun time, is that semi-state run and everything else, because you're going to have Yorktown and Newcastle battling.
Sectional.
Yes, and then as they get into that semi-state, that's where you're going to see Center Grove, you're going to see a Providence team, you're going to see like a Columbus East. It's going to get crazy.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right, we are at number 2.
There is a number 2 this week. Last week I went with co-number 1s. This week I'm going to put Newcastle at my number 2.
Yep.
First loss of the season.
5-1 on the year.
You know, you lose to Assumption, who's probably historically, them or Muncie Burris are probably in this part of the world the 2 greatest high school programs in the history of the game.
Yep.
Assumption loaded, as good as anybody in the country, and they lose to an Assumption team that will probably, if they fare well in the next 2 weeks, will go on to another national title. No disrespect to Newcastle at all. I'm going to put them at 2, and the reason I'm going to put them at 2 is because the team at 1 has yet to lose, and yet to lose a set, and yet to lose over the last couple of years. The last time they lost was to Crown Point in 2018. And so I've got to pay respect. I've said all the time that champs are champs, but make no mistake, Melanie Schaffmaster will right this boat. Melanie Schaffmaster is just a beast. She is tough to deal with, and the more motivated she's going to get, I think this Assumption match motivates this Newcastle team to chase great even more than they already have. I really got a good feeling about Newcastle.
And then we got 2, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday will be that Yorktown and Newcastle game. They moved it up to get away from around sectional time.
Back to back. It would have been their last match and their first match, basically, with sectional.
Correct. So
that's a good move.
That'll be a fun match to watch next week.
Gives us something to talk about.
Yep.
But my number 1 team, Yorktown. You know, what they're doing is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. You know, I don't know the exact count. We should have got it. You know, they're 12-0 right now, which means they're 36-0 in sets. I think that probably puts them at like 138 or 139 out of 140 of their last sets. Like I alluded to, the last time they lost was in a shocker to a Crown Point team that went on to the state championship that year in 2018.
17, isn't it?
2017. And so you're looking at it going, these guys haven't lost, and they're playing good teams. They beat a good Chatard team, a ranked Crown Point team. They beat a Roncalli team that's been playing very, very well. Belmont historically is great. Wapahani's won 4 state championships in the 2000s. Pendleton Heights may be the most improved team in the area, and all Yorktown has done is beat all of those guys in straights. They embarrassed Wapahani 25-6, and Wapahani's got the best young talent in the area. This Yorktown team is they're the real deal, but it's a picture of culture, it's a picture of class, it's a picture of work ethic, and they're the champions until they're beaten. I'm not saying they can't be beaten. I'm just saying this week they're my number 1 team. I like all of these teams. Like I said, I love that Providence team. I love that Newcastle. This could create great fire and could make some of these matchups even bigger. But right now, Yorktown's my 1. It should be an interesting week of volleyball. Yorktown HSE should be entertaining. Randy surely was. And so with that said and done, get out and watch some volleyball this week. This is the best bang for your buck. $5, you get a ball game, you get a dog and a Coke, and sit back and watch some of the best athletes in the country go at it. But until then, you guys enjoy your week and be great sports fans.